as a starting point, it'd be really great just to hear about you and about your role and a bit about Otago as well, because I know that there's a rich history there and a very loyal fan base that you've got in New Zealand in particular.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, kia ora, Lorna. So my name's Hone Paul. I'm the Director of Marketing here at the University of Otago, Otago Whakihuaka. The university, as you may know, is New Zealand's first university. So we were established in 1869, which makes us about 155 years old. Been around for a little while. And Otago is one of the leading research universities in the country. We're rated number one for educational performance and teaching in New Zealand. We've around 20,000 students with the main campus here in Dunedin. We also have campuses in Christchurch, Wellington, Auckland, and Invercargill.
And so I guess going right back to the start, what really kicked off this project? What was it? How were you managing your digital experiences previously? And what was the kind of catalyst for this?
Yeah, the first point I guess we started at was the realization that we weren't providing the best experience we could to our audiences. And in a university, there are a number of audience segments that we have to think about. But we knew, and we've known for a long time, that web experience and that web presence was pretty substandard, pretty suboptimal, and we needed and had needed to do something about it for a very long time. Our previous content management system was very old technology, it was difficult to use. In fact, the technology itself was more than 12 years old. We'd been living with it for a long time. It was also difficult to keep web content updated across the website, across otago.ac.nz, and the approach to manage how those updates were undertaken was very slow and sometimes very manual process, often very complex. And then this is to support our ways of working for things such as service management were very outdated and inefficient as well. There were definitely some cybersecurity concerns on our old platform by virtue of the fact we were operating an end-of-life unsupported system that had many integrations. And our team was working very hard to maintain our web presence and to keep things alive on that old website. To that regard, there were many single points of dependency. And it was not an ideal situation to be in from a digital presence perspective. I think the major driver, of course, was around that experience, not only of the audiences to the website, but also the users of the content management system, the people who needed to rely on information from the website every day.
And so I guess you've alluded to some of these in what you said there, but what I guess were the main goals that you wanted to get out of moving to a new platform?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk mainly about two things. One was, in order to move forward, we needed to replace our CMS. We know that the website forms part of a larger digital presence that the university has, but that the basis or the enabler for us to modernize our digital presence needs to start with supportive, enabling technology. So yes, there's strategy, there's approach, there's all those types of things, but we did need an enabling piece of technology and the processes that go with it in order to help us to modernize our digital presence. And so we took the approach of looking at partnering with someone who could enable a new CMS for us. The second thing that we wanted to do was improve the audience experience on our website in order to improve the overall experience that people have with the University of Otago. As I mentioned earlier, we have thousands of students, staff, researchers, funders, members of our alumni community and the general public that come to our website every single day to find information about the university, about the things that we do. We know that the university is our most important marketing tool, and this is common for most universities around the world. And I think about 80% of our prospective students rely on information that they find on our website in order to make decisions about enrollment or whether the University of Otago is the right place for them. Enabling that audience experience was critical to helping us to achieve a whole lot of other business objectives. And those two focus objectives became our guiding lights in terms of what we wanted this project to do. Number one, we needed to get a new CMS. Number two, we needed to improve that audience experience.
Just going back to the CMS, and you mentioned that it was old and possibly feeling a bit tired, and everyone was dealing with it rather than using it and feeling like they were getting what they needed from it. Were there any other sort of key pain points that you were really keen to move away from, that you thought, actually, when we go out to find a new one, we really want to find something that does X, Y, Z?
Definitely, we needed to move to a cloud solution for starters. We used an on-prem platform that tied up a lot of resource and internal capability and inefficiencies in terms of the way that was being managed. So that was an important technology solution that we needed. The other part too is that we needed a system that would enable us to provide service management solutions to a very large organization. So 20,000 students, about 4,000 full-time staff across multiple locations, dealing with many thousands of other people throughout the day. We needed a system that could manage that volume of interactions and traffic through the website. We needed a system that was reliable, that would help to improve our performance in terms of the engagement that audiences were having on our website. We also needed a system that would enable what I would say is an efficient marketing team to be able to service the needs of that large organization. And it's common in the public service and probably from many universities around the world at the moment that budgets are tight, resources are difficult to come by, and all of the systems that we use need to have the added payoff of being able to help us to achieve our business objectives in a much more efficient and effective way. And so those were some of the things that we were thinking about in the back of our minds as we were searching for someone to partner with, and as we were looking at a new CMS.
And what did that process actually look like then for looking for that new partner? You knew what you wanted. How did you start the process of actually going out to find someone?
Yeah, so we undertook a competitive RFP process, and that involved a global search through our procurement process. And at the end of that very extensive and robust process, as publicly funded organizations tend to be, we settled on Squiz. And the reason we settled on Squiz, being our kind of our digital partner for this project, was that we believed that they delivered the best solution in terms of technology requirements, tick those boxes in terms of support. Of course, there's always the affordability box that we need to tick as well. But what really stood out for me as a marketing director was their innate experience working in the higher education sector and really demonstrating their knowledge of the challenges that we face and an appreciation for the environment that we were operating in, a couple of years ago, and that we continue to operate in now. And so I think that connection, that really strong understanding of our goals and ambitions, of our customers, of the difficulties that we're facing in that kind of competitive environment and in the technology environment, I think Squiz stood head and shoulders above the others that we looked at in that process.
Fantastic. And so thinking about the beginnings of the project, what did that look like? So I know there was an element of UX research and obviously a discovery phase that that we went through with you. Are you able to share a bit about what that process looked like?
Yeah, sure. Obviously, as part of the business case for a new website, we undertook some pre-discovery work ourselves and worked with another digital UX company. And the things that we wanted to understand there were basically who are our audiences, really understand who the people are that are coming to our site, and more than just the data that you get from Google Analytics. We actually needed to understand these people in terms of their personas, in terms of the tasks that they were undertaking on our site, in terms of the connection to our business objectives, and also the ways that they were engaging with us. So we undertook that UX research, and that was really valuable for us because it enabled us to firstly understand the reasons why we were doing this project and who we were doing this project for. But secondly, it helped us to prioritize what was important going into this project. And a university, of course, there are many stakeholders, there are many mouths to feed, there are many people who need to get something out of the digital presence and a website. But of course, we can't do everything. So this piece of initial inquiry really helped us to focus what our needs were, our immediate needs were, how to prioritize those needs within the project. And certainly we're continuing to use those today as we build on the initial stages of the work that we've done with Squiz, and as we continue to build our digital presence. So that phase was really helpful to help us to build out the business case, to help us to articulate what our problem was to a vendor so that they're able to helpfully send a brief back to us, or a solution back to us that makes sense and that they know that will work. That initial discovery phase with Squiz 2 that we undertook, so we did some work pre the partnership to help inform what this project was going to be, and then that initial discovery phase with Squiz was absolutely critical. And the reason it was critical is because we had very little understanding of what our website environment actually was and actually looked like. We had no idea how many pages there were. We had no idea of all of the integrations and all of just the extent of the complexity of otago.ac.nz was prior to moving to migrating to the Squiz platform. So that pre-discovery phase helped to put some shape around what is it we're dealing with, and what would that process look like, and what will the capabilities need to be, both from a vendor perspective but also from an internal perspective, and how will we frame up the project and in order to set realistic expectations to our senior stakeholders and to our community. And also, how do we communicate what we're doing? Like, it's one thing to say we're getting a new CMS. It's another thing to explain what that means in terms of moving from where we used to be with this very antiquated system to a new system, and what difference that will make for the university. Also, the other thing I'll add to that is that we'd never done this before. We're the first university in New Zealand, and 150 years or so later, we're actually replacing a website for the first time. Of course, websites weren't around when we started, but you get my drift. We're going into the unknown a little bit here. As a result of the project, we've learnt a lot about ourselves, about our audiences, about what's important, about what we can push and what is sacred to us and that we don't want to change.
What were the sort of numbers you were dealing with in terms of pages and websites that would need to be migrated? I understand it was pretty large.
Very significant. The project migration was massive. We'd never done anything like this. And the website was our single largest digital presence, certainly from a public accessibility perspective. Going into this project, we estimated that we'd have somewhere between 90,000 and 150,000 pages that we would need to migrate as part of the project. I think as an estimate, it was the final number was around 90 to 100,000. It was a significant number of pages across the website, across many websites. There were hundreds of websites that were part of the Otago digital presence that needed to be migrated onto a new CMS, onto our new system. So, it was a very significant undertaking, and one that we got a lot of learning out of and a lot of growth, and thankfully, for the most part, very successful. One thing I will comment on is the approach that we took to migrate, and it was very simplistic. I'm not a technical person, but in a very simplistic explanation, we did a like-for-like migration. So we did a lot of the pre-migration work to ensure that we were migrating content in an effective way, an efficient way. But we knew that one of the principles that we had in the project is that we needed, number one, to get onto a new CMS. And there are lots of ways to cut that, I think. There were a few options that we could have looked at, but thinking about what's the number one objective, getting off the old one, getting onto a new one, so that our teams could start to create a new website, could start to learn about using a new website, learn about design and how we would do that effectively for audiences. So that pretty basic principle sat in the background around the decision to migrate in the way that we did for this project.
Yeah, because I know obviously that migration piece was, as you say, part of a much bigger piece. And now you have a beautiful rebranded website, which you might come on to talking about a bit later. Once the migration was done and thinking about where you are now, what are the Squiz capabilities that you're actually utilizing now?
Yeah, sure. So we use content management, search, some integrations. Squiz, that's CMS, was the foundation for us to be able to build our digital presence for important audiences and to achieve really important business objectives. But it also provides us the opportunity to then add on and to build our capability and capacity as we go about improving our digital experience and achieving our strategies. Yeah, we're looking forward to unleashing the platform, basically. Yeah.
Nice. So thinking about where you are now, what have been the sort of biggest results today? Thinking about the migration project, but also how it's benefiting you and the marketing team.
Yeah, look, it's relatively early days, but we are delighted with the results that we've had so far. Overall, we were able to deliver the project on time and under budget, which is, I wish I could say that about all my projects. We've resolved a number of really critical risks for the organization. One around cybersecurity. The potential for cybersecurity incidents was relatively high with our previous CMS, and that risk has been removed with the move to our new system. We've aligned our brand across our web presence. 90% of the pages now that we have in our digital presence now, mostly consistent to our brand templates and have a coherent kind of architecture around them, which we never used to have with our previous web presence. Those important marketing pillars have been addressed. We obviously able to manage our web presence much more efficiently than we've ever been able to do in the past. The CMS itself and the way that our team uses it to manage content, to create new sites, to update content, to quickly develop campaign landing pages, to quickly create departmental sites is vastly improved from what we had previously with our old CMS. And that has a lot of flow-on positive implications for not only for the university from a business perspective, but also for people working in that team, removing some of the conflict that people have when you're trying to explain to someone that I can't update your page because of this, or I can't update your page now, it's going to take 6 months. Those conversations are happening far less than they used to happen before. But from a business perspective, from a strategy perspective, what it does mean is with a much better enabled system, much easier to use, much more user-friendly, no code, very intuitive. With a system like that, it means that you can focus more of your important resources on important strategic pieces of work, so that we're actually getting more value out of our work programs, and we're getting more value from the technology because our people are able to focus on some more of those kind of high value add things that we just weren't able to get to. What we're working on at the moment is phase 2 of the project, and you might recall me saying, Lorna, that phase 1 was all about, first objective is replacing the CMS. Second objective is about transforming the experience for our users. And we're now working through that and already it's making a difference. The fact our search, using the new Squiz search function that we have access to through the DXP, has made an incredible difference to reducing the friction in the journey for students, or for researchers, or for people wanting to find information that's relevant to their search requests. So things like that are having significant advantages for our digital presence.
That's fantastic to hear. And when you talk about the team that's using it, do you mean purely the marketing team within the business?
Yeah, there's a little bit of context to this. So in our previous web structure, if you like, it was a fairly devolved model. So there were hundreds of editors, web editors, that had access to be able to update the old CMS. Over the years, that changed, and that devolved model moved to a kind of a centralized model, which didn't work very well. Yeah, we centralized the web operating model, but we kept the old web system. And it's just putting the square into the round hole kind of thing. It wasn't going to work particularly well. What we've done as part of the project, with phase 2 of the project, we're reviewing that operating model and the strategy and the approach for how we manage resources around the website, what a good user experience or what a good audience experience should be for the website based on audience insights, and then start to align the various objectives that departments around the university have for their web presence and what they need to achieve. So, aligning the operating model with the audience, with the with our clients, we're able to start to develop a much better presence and a much better experience for users, for all users of the website. So to that end, the model that we're looking at is having, obviously, the web experience team who sits in the central marketing area, retaining super user rights, editor rights, super editor rights, I guess they're called, to be the guardians of the website and web content, and devolving a lot of the what we call minor changes and the capability to make changes to departmental website content. Someone leaves, something changes about an event or things like that. So we're devolving that back out to the university, so that people undertake appropriate training and are supported through a process to be able to use Squiz. It's, I understand, fairly easy to use, so that's always a benefit. And that also helps us to reprioritize important resources, so that we've got those people who are skilled web developers and content developers working on really important business objectives or strategically important digital presence work, and allowing our community to be able to have ownership of their own content, which ticks a lot of boxes because people are having to wait to update content. Our web team's not having to spend hours sitting at the service desk waiting for content to come in and fixing that. And it also has, there's a benefit for users, obviously, because they're getting more accurate information, more timely information, often from the content owners themselves. It's just the shift to the platform, the Squiz platform, that's just a modern platform really, has enabled those really fundamental but quite basic business systems to operate better.
Yeah, any comments from your team?
Yeah, I come in every day and pop in to see the WebEx team, and I can honestly say they look like they're thriving. They look like they're really enjoying the responsibility and the capability that they've developed, and having a clear strategy now around, firstly, what a modern system can provide, but also having the ability to do things that were previously quite hard to get to as a content editor, as a content developer, or as a web editor, because we're constantly caught in some of the mire of really unimportant things. And the fact that our service levels have improved, we're now starting to develop things that we never used to before, in terms of starting to work through new websites in a much faster way than we were able to previously. The other thing that I'd like to just add to that is, for anyone thinking about a project like this, is it's really important not to just think of this as a technology project. And I don't think that's probably not lost on most people. But it's really critical to take both the technology and the solution, as well as the strategic audience piece, side by side, and interlink them. And the experience that we had, which everyone will have different experiences, but making firm kind of decisions, which you map them out, and you understand that, if we do option A, fix the website, then migrate, it's going to be benefits to that. There's going to be significant downsides as well. If you do it the other way, there's going to be significant benefits or significant downsides as well. But I think whatever decision people make, whatever's right for their organization, and you're not going to have all the information there, but whatever decision you make, I think you stick to it and work with a partner that understands both approaches. Yeah.
Really doing that legwork up front to know your options have been really clear.
It's an absolute cliche, but a week up the front saves a month at the end. So I think it's a really important lesson that we learnt. Thankfully, we didn't have anything go significantly wrong at all with that approach. And of course, that comes with sacrifices. That comes with time-bound successes, and also heavily prioritizing what you can do within the project, and also the impact that has on the business as usual delivery, because you can't do everything at once. But if you enter these kinds of investments, the long-term investment, and there's a plan around it, then I think for us, it's that those sacrifices pay off in the end.
Yeah. And have you had any even anecdotal feedback from the community, I guess the broader organizational community, but also external communities, so people actually using the website?
Oh, yeah, massively. We've got fantastic data around the improved performance of the website, around search as well. It's much easier to find information. Search is becoming much more accurate as it learns, as it teaches itself, as we improve the way we develop content, as we improve SEO, but also as we learn to prioritize what should be going onto the web and what shouldn't. Now, these are all parts of this project. The search tool itself is helping us to enable information, the right information to get to the people that are looking for it. And so we've had tons of feedback that those improvements happened in a matter of days and weeks. When we went live with the launch of our new website, we were immediately provided with feedback from people to say how much easier it was to use, how much better it looked, how much more consistent it was to visit a page and visit another page and visit another page, and things were in where they expected them to be. And there was a consistent kind of architecture around where you'd find something. I think there is. Can I just say that universities they're pretty fickle audiences. Universities are made up of a community of very intelligent and educated people who are focused on critical analysis and finding solutions that change the world. And so to work on a project that is essentially about managing information and how we present that information in a better way, it's really important to make sure that we do a real diligent job around that, and get to the point where we are, to get really positive feedback, to have people understand the journey that we're going on, and to be able to keep moving forward on our digital presence program of work. It's a fantastic outcome.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're really pleased with that. And I can't wait to see where we'll be in 12 months. And I can't wait to see where we'll be in 2 years. And some of the things that are on the horizon that are enabled by the work that we've done with Squiz.
Are you able to share any of the plans or what we have future-wise?
What I want to really say is that our website is critical to the work that we do in marketing. As I mentioned earlier, the website, our digital presence, is the most important marketing tool that we have. And up until the last few months, we've not really had the ability to leverage that tool in the way that we are now. And the types of work that we're now embarking on, and the types of exciting initiatives that we want to undertake with our new web platform. So part of that is looking at more enhancement around how we can remove more friction from that student journey, as the competitive environment at the universities is it's fairly intense. Students have so much choice now, and universities are that window into their worlds and into their offering. And so it's so important that we get to a point with our digital presence where we are competitive, we remain competitive, but also that the people that are using the website and the audiences that engage with us do so in a seamless, frictionless way, so that it allows them to do the things that they want to do. And there's still things that we have to do as part of this project. While we have the technology in place now, while we have the platform in place, we're still months, or sometimes for some initiatives, even a couple of years away from realizing the full potential of where we want to be. But the important thing is that we're on the journey, and it's given us confidence to be able to say, hey, we've done that. That was a huge undertaking. Going this bit further doesn't seem that hard now.
Fantastic. Yeah, you feel like you've got the opportunity that you didn't have previously, and that can be so exciting. It's often then about holding yourself back, right? And being like, let's make sure we do this really well. And not get too carried away.
Yeah, look, I think that's going back to the project and the implementation. The product certainly does provide that foundation, but having a good team, having really capable project teams, the capability, working with Squiz and the Squiz team was fantastic. And that kind of clarity and communication that occurs throughout the project, it was really important too. Yeah, it has definitely been something that we're really happy with in terms of the results that we've seen.
Fantastic. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat to you about this. I really appreciate you taking the time.
No worries.
And yeah, we can't wait to see what you do next, how far you go.
Good. Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and anytime. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you.